All right, Dus, I'll write part 1 fully expanded into approximately 800 words in simple, basic English, third-person style. And I'll make it very interesting so your YouTube audience feels hooked and keeps listening. Also, as you requested earlier, I will replace all full stops with commas at the end of sentences so the narrator never says dot. Here's your part 1. The galaxy was full of strange life, full of powerful empires and dangerous creatures, but above them all, one name was whispered with fear. The Alpha Predator. It was a beast older than many stars, a hunter that no army had ever defeated when the Alpha Predator appeared. Even warlords hid in silence. Its roar carried across worlds. Its claws tore through steel to see it was to know death was near. So when it landed on a forgotten world, everyone expected the same story. Another massacre, another hunt. But this time, something different happened. Something that would shake the galaxy to its core. In the ruins of a crashed ship, among broken metal and fire, the Predator found a small human cub. The child was weak, covered in dust and scratches. Crying in fear, alone in the smoke, any other Predator would have ended the child in a heartbeat. But the Alpha Predator only watched. Its golden eyes narrowed. The galaxy believed humans were weak, small creatures that built machines to protect themselves. They were not feared. They were not respected. But in that moment, the strongest hunter in the stars looked at a human cub and made a choice that would change everything. Instead of killing, the Alpha Predator lowered its massive head. It growled softly, like thunder rolling across the sky. The human child reached out with shaking hands. And to the shock of the stars, the Predator accepted the touch. Hidden watchers could not believe what they saw. Alien scouts from far-off empires had been following the Predator, hoping to record its hunt. What they recorded instead was madness. The Alpha Predator, the destroyer of countless worlds, had chosen a human cub as kin across the galaxy. Fear spread like wildfire. If the Alpha Predator now protected humans, then who could ever challenge them on a council ship orbiting a dying sun? Alien leaders shouted in panic. One said, "The balance is broken. The Predator has chosen its heir." Another hissed, "And it is not one of us. It is a human." The council chamber shook with fear. The weakest species now carried the mark of the strongest beast. Meanwhile, the human cub followed the Predator into the wild. Step by step, the child was small, but his eyes began to shine with courage. The Predator did not speak words, yet it taught lessons. It showed how to walk without sound, how to smell danger on the wind, how to watch the sky for hidden hunters. The cub learned quickly, and the galaxy watched with dread. Some aliens whispered, "Why would the Predator choose a human?" Others answered, "Perhaps it sees something we do not." Many refused to believe it, but in their hearts they feared the truth. Because if the Alpha Predator, the beast that never bowed to anyone, saw power in humanity, then maybe humans were not weak at all. Maybe they were something worse. Rumors spread faster than light. Traitors carried the story. Soldiers repeated it in fear. Leaders tried to silence the whispers. But nothing could stop them. The Predator chose the human cub, they said, and now the galaxy will shiver. One night, under the cold light of strange stars, the child sat beside the Alpha Predator. He looked at its glowing eyes, and, for the first time, he did not feel fear. He felt strength. The Predator's shadow covered him, protecting him from the dark, far away in hidden chambers. Alien generals sharpened their weapons, their voices heavy with fear. "If the cub grows," one said, "it will unite Predator and human blood." Another muttered, "That child must never live to become more." But the galaxy already knew. It was too late. Destiny had been chosen. The Alpha Predator had made its mark. And the human cub was no longer just a child. He was a symbol, a warning. a future that the galaxy could not control. And as the Predator's roar echoed across the stars, every empire, every race, every soldier felt the same chill in their bones. The galaxy had seen many wars, many rulers, many monsters, but nothing like this. The Alpha Predator had chosen its kin, and it had chosen a human. The galaxy would never forget this moment. And it would never be the same again. Got it, Dust Isle? Now expand part to the fear spreads across the stars into a unique, approximately 800-word script. Still in third-person style, simple, basic English, and ending every sentence with a comma instead of a full stop. Here's part 2. The galaxy was never silent. It was full of voices, whispers, and shouts. But after the day, the Alpha Predator chose the human cub, the noise changed. Now it was the sound of fear across distant worlds. In the great halls of alien councils, leaders trembled. Empires that once claimed they feared nothing now feared one thing: the bond between a human and the Alpha Predator. On a frozen planet under 3 moons, the High Assembly of the Korthok gathered. They were scaled beings with blades for teeth. They had fought the Predator before and lost countless warriors. Now they watched the recording of the moment. When the Predator accepted the human cub, their scales paled, their tails curled. "This cannot be allowed," one of them hissed. "If the Predator protects humans, then no weapon in this galaxy can defeat them in another system." Inside the glass towers of the Zolari, species of tall, insect-like beings, their queen buzzed with unease. Her advisors bent their antennae. Lo, they feared what this meant. The queen's voice was sharp. Humans were weak, easy to break. Now the Predator has given them a crown of blood. Her wings clicked nervously. "If this spreads, our empire will face rebellion. Our slaves will believe humans are chosen." News traveled faster than any ship. Every trader, every smuggler, every wandering pilgrim carried the story. In bars on desert moons, mercenaries whispered over sour drinks. "The Predator has a human heir." In markets of glowing crystal, merchants shook their heads. "The galaxy will change." Some refused to believe it. "Lies," they said. No Predator would bow to a human cub. But when they saw the images, when they heard the growl that turned gentle in the child's presence, even the strongest doubters felt a cold wave of truth. In the great war councils, maps of the stars burned with red marks. Generals drew lines, they planned blockades, ambushes, assassins. Kay said the child must be destroyed before he grows. They said humans must be contained before they rise, but deep inside. Every general knew the hardest truth: if the Alpha Predator had chosen, no army could undo it. Meanwhile, humanity itself did not yet understand the storm. On Earth, people lived ordinary lives. They did not know that across the galaxy, their name was now spoken in fear. They did not know that alien eyes watched every colony, every outpost. Waiting for a chance to strike, the galaxy began to shift. Alliances that had lasted for centuries cracked. Some species wanted to destroy humans quickly. Others wanted to study them. A few even whispered that maybe, just maybe, they should join them in the shadows. Small races who had always been slaves to the great empires whispered about hope. If the Predator protects humans, then maybe humans will protect us too. Rebellion started as a spark in those whispers. But for the great empires, it was terror. They saw humans not as weak anymore, but as a danger. The weakest had suddenly become the most unpredictable on a hidden moon. A secret council of warlords gathered around a black fire. They swore an oath: the cub must die. Humanity must never rise, or the galaxy will fall. Their voices echoed in the cave, but even as they spoke, they looked at each other with doubt. Who among them would dare to face the Predator itself? Ships began to move silently across the void. Fleets gathered in dark corners of space. Spies spread through human colonies. Strange eyes watched from the shadows. The galaxy prepared for something it had never faced before. And at the center of it all was a single child, a human cub growing under the shadow of the alpha predator. He was not yet a warrior, not yet a leader, but already the galaxy shook because of him. The fear spread not just through armies and rulers, but through ordinary beings too. Mothers told their children stories. Beware the humans, for the predator has chosen them. Priests spoke in temples. A sign has come. The old order will fall. Soldiers sharpened their blades with shaking hands. Even the stars seemed quieter, as if waiting, as if holding their breath. The galaxy had seen many wars. It had seen empires rise and fall, but never before had fear spread like this. Not from an army, not from a weapon, but from a bond. A bond between the strongest beast and a fragile human cub. And so the galaxy whispered, in fear, in anger, in awe. The predator has chosen, and the choice is human. The galaxy shivered, and it knew nothing would ever be the same again. Perfect dust. I'll now expand part 3. The child grows under the predator into approximately 800 words, written in simple, basic English, third-person style, and ending every sentence with a comma instead of a full stop. This part will be more unique, showing the child's growth with both human cleverness and predator instincts. While the galaxy secretly watches with fear, the child was small when the alpha predator first carried him into the wild. His feet stumbled, his voice trembled, but the beast never let him fall, day by day. Under strange skies and red suns, the cub grew. The predator did not speak, yet every action was a lesson. When it crouched low in the tall grass, the cub copied. When it drank from the cold river, the cub learned where to find water. When it hunted under the moons, the cub followed, his eyes wide and bright. At first, the cub was weak. He could not keep up, his legs tired. His body shook, but the predator was patient. It never abandoned him. It carried him on its back through storms. It gave him meat from its hunts. It shielded him from the cold winds. Slowly, the cub changed. His steps grew quieter. He no longer stumbled. He watched the shadows carefully. He began to sense danger before it came. His small hands shaped tools from stone and wood. He used his human mind to solve what the predator showed by instinct. One night, as the stars burned above, the predator howled. The sound shook the forest. It was a call to the hunt. The cub joined, his heart racing, his bare feet running across the earth. Together, they brought down prey larger than the child himself. The predator's claws struck first, but the cub's quick thinking trapped the beast in a pit he had dug. The predator roared with pride. The galaxy did not look away. Unseen eyes followed. Ships hovered far in orbit. Scouts hid in shadows. They sent reports to their masters, and their words carried fear. The cub grows stronger, they said. He learns not only human skill, but predator instinct. In secret councils, alien leaders argued. One spat. It is only a child. It cannot threaten us. Another answered coldly. It is not the child we fear. It is what it represents, human cleverness with predator blood. The cub continued to grow. His body hardened, his eyes sharpened. His laughter echoed through the forest like the growl of a young beast. Sometimes he stood beside the alpha predator, almost looking like a smaller shadow of it. The predator tested him. It left him alone for days with nothing but the tools he made. It returned to find him alive, stronger, wiser. The cub had built fire, had hunted his own prey, had scared away smaller beasts with his fierce cry. Aliens who spied on him reported with unease. The child does not break. It adapts. It grows. It learns. There were moments of gentleness, too. The predator feared across the stars. Would lower its head so the child could sleep against its side. The cub would whisper in his small human voice, and though the predator did not answer, Steady breath was like a promise. The bond grew deeper, stronger, unshakable. Across the galaxy, the story spread. Mothers hushed their children with warnings. Do not anger the humans, for one of them walks with the predator. Priests raised their hands in temples. This is a sign, the end of old rulers in the war rooms of the empires. Silence hung heavy. No one dared speak the thought out loud, but they all felt it. The cub was no longer just a cub. He was becoming something new. One day, hunters from another species tried to test the truth. They came in secret, armed with blades and fire. They thought they could snatch the child and prove the story false. But when they attacked, they found not weakness, but fury. The predator struck with claws sharper than steel, tearing through the hunters. But in that battle, the child too fought. He moved quickly. He used the traps he had set. He cut with sharpened stone. He shouted with a voice that froze the hunters' hearts. When the dust settled, the invaders lay broken. And the child stood beside the predator, breathing hard, his eyes fierce. From the shadows, more spies watched, their hands trembling as they recorded. The cub is not just surviving. They whispered. The cub is becoming the heir. Word spread like fire. The galaxy had feared the choice. Now it feared the result. The human cub was no longer a fragile child. He was a growing storm, a mixture of human mind and predator instinct. And as he stood beneath the night sky, with the alpha predator beside him, his shadow seemed larger than his small body, larger than any child should be. It was the shadow of something the galaxy had never seen before. Something that would soon change everything. That's approximately 800 words, unique and suspenseful. With the cub's growth shown in both physical survival and symbolic power. Written in simple English and with commas instead of full stops. Perfect dust. Now I'll expand part for the first test. Conflict begins into approximately 800 words. Written in third-person style. Simple, basic English. And ending every sentence with a comma instead of a full stop. This part will feel unique and cinematic, full of suspense and action, showing how the first true conflict begins when raiders try to kill the cub, and how both the alpha predator and the human child prove their power. The galaxy had whispered, it had feared, it had plotted, but whispers and fear were not enough. Someone had to test the truth. Someone had to see if the cub was only a rumor, or truly dangerous. So they came, a band of raiders from the shadow worlds. Killers who took coin from alien empires. Their ships fell from the sky like daggers of fire. Their boots struck the ground with hunger for blood. Their mission was simple: kill the human cub, break the bond, prove to the galaxy that humans were still weak. The alpha predator felt them before they landed. Its growl shook the trees. The ground trembled. The cub stood beside it. Older now, taller, his eyes sharp, his hands ready. He was not a warrior yet, but he was no longer helpless. The forest grew silent as the raiders spread out. Their weapons glowed. Their armor hissed. They thought they were hunters. But they had stepped into the predator's domain. The first arrow of fire struck. The predator roared. Its massive body slammed into the trees, claws flashing. The raiders screamed as one was torn apart, but still they came. They were many. The predator was one. The cub ran, not in fear, but in strategy. He moved through the trees he knew so well. His traps were already waiting. Pits covered in leaves, sharp stakes hidden in the soil. When the raiders chased him, two fell into darkness. Their screams ended with a crunch. The predator fought like a storm, every strike ending a life. But even the strongest beast could not be everywhere. The cub was cornered by three raiders. Their blades raised, his heart pounded. Fear flashed in his eyes. But then he remembered the lessons. Silence, patience, strike when the enemy is blind, he dropped low, scooped dirt into his hand, and threw it into their eyes. Their helmets cracked, their vision blurred. He struck with sharpened stone. Cutting deep, one raider fell. The others cursed. The predator came crashing through the trees, protecting him. But the cub had already shown he was no easy prey. From orbit, hidden watchers recorded every moment, their voices filled with shock. The cub fights, the cub uses traps, the cub survives. They sent messages to their masters, and the masters trembled. The battle raged through the night. Fire lit the forest, the sky filled with smoke. The predator's roar shook the stars. The cub's voice rose beside it, a young human shouting in defiance. When dawn came, the ground was soaked with blood. Broken weapons lay across the soil. The raiders were gone, destroyed, none survived. The predator stood tall, its body marked with wounds but unbroken. Beside it stood the cub, dirt on his face, blood on his hands, his eyes burning with fire. The galaxy had hoped the child would die, but instead he lived stronger than before in distant councils. Leaders slammed their fists. Fools, one shouted. You have only proved the human cub is dangerous. Another hissed. The predator will protect him with its life. We cannot stop them with raiders. We will need armies, but armies meant war. And war against the alpha predator was a death wish. On smaller worlds, whispers grew louder. Small races who had lived under alien chains heard the story. They began to believe, if a child can stand beside the predator and live, maybe humans can lead us too. The cub sat with the predator after the battle. The fires burned low, the ground still hot. The predator lowered its great head, and for the first time, the cub touched its scar. He whispered softly, "We fight together." The predator's golden eyes glowed, not with hunger, but with pride. The bond was sealed in blood and fire, unbreakable now. The galaxy had wanted to test the human cub, and it had, but the test did not break him. It made him into something more, a survivor, a fighter, a symbol, and as the suns rose, their light falling on the wounded land, the cub and the predator stood side by side, their shadows stretching long and dark, somewhere far away, in a hidden chamber. An alien general whispered the truth that others feared to say aloud. This is no longer just a cub. This is the beginning of a storm. The galaxy felt it, a shiver that spread from world to world. The first test was over, and humanity had not failed. The predator and the human had passed together, and nothing could stop what was coming. That's approximately 800 words. Written in cinematic action style, with suspense and tension, and in simple English, so your audience stays hooked. Perfect dust. Now I'll expand Part 5 Whispers of Rebellion into approximately 800 words. Written in third-person style, simple, basic English, and ending every line with a comma instead of a full stop. This part will feel unique and powerful, showing how fear turns into secret admiration, and how whispers of rebellion begin to spread across the galaxy because of the human cub and the alpha predator. The galaxy had seen the first test. It had watched the raiders fall. It had seen the child stand beside the alpha predator in fire and blood. And now the whispers changed. Before, they were whispers of fear, of panic, of warnings. Now, in the corners of the galaxy, in the shadows of great empires, new whispers rose, whispers of hope, whispers of rebellion, on a mining world where slaves dug endlessly for crystal under the whips of their masters. A group of workers passed the story in secret. The child fought raiders. One said quietly, his hands shaking from the weight of his chains, he lived, and the predator stood with him. Another's eyes brightened. If a human child can survive against killers, maybe we can too, for the first time in years. They smiled. In the dark halls of temples, priests spoke in hidden voices. The alpha predator bows to none, but it walks with a human. This is not chance. This is destiny. Their followers listened. Their faith turned into something sharper, a belief that the old order would fall. Among smugglers in the black markets of forgotten moons, the story was told over and over. The predator protects the human cub, they said, and the empires are afraid. Smugglers were criminals, but they knew power when they saw it. Some began to think that perhaps it was time to pick a side, and maybe the side of humans would be the winning one. Not everyone believed, of course. The great empires laughed on their thrones, their voices dripping with venom. Slaves dream foolish dreams. They said, the child is nothing, only a human, but their eyes betrayed them. Because even as they mocked, they prepared fleets. They armed soldiers, they moved with fear. The cub himself did not know he had become a symbol. He only lived, learned, and fought beside the predator, but far away. Entire races whispered his name like a secret flame. In a desert world where the sand burned hot, a tribe of small insect-like people gathered under the stars. They were weak, crushed for centuries under stronger rulers. One elder raised his hands and said, "We were always told humans are like us, weak, easy to control. Yet one human cub walks with the alpha predator. And the predator does not protect the strong, it protects the worthy." The tribe murmured, their voices trembling with new courage. Ships carried rumors faster than light. Traders spread the tale at every station. The predator chose the human cub. They whispered to anyone who would listen, and the empires tremble. Soldiers on leave drank bitter drinks and muttered, "If even the predator follows humans, why should we die for rulers who fear them?" The seeds of rebellion took root in those words. Some rulers noticed, and they were afraid not only of humans, but of their own people. Riots sparked in corners of the galaxy. Small at first, a worker refusing orders, a soldier throwing down his weapon, a priest shouting the name of the cub in the streets. The empires crushed them quickly, but whispers cannot be crushed. They spread again, faster and stronger, on Earth. Humanity still did not know the truth. Ordinary men and women walked their lives, unaware that across the stars they were becoming a symbol. Their colonies did not yet see that they were watched by eyes full of both fear and respect. In a hidden chamber, an old alien scholar wrote with shaking hands, "Every empire has fallen because of whispers, not weapons, because ideas spread faster than armies. And now the idea of humans walking with the alpha predator is burning across the galaxy." His voice cracked as he finished. This is the beginning of rebellion. The cub slept under the shadow of the alpha predator that night, dreaming only of survival. But in 100 worlds, slaves dreamed of freedom. Soldiers dreamed of refusing orders. And small species dreamed of rising. The alpha predator had not chosen just a cub. It had chosen a spark, and that spark was catching fire. The galaxy shivered not only in fear now, but in something more dangerous, in hope, and hope, once awakened, cannot be killed. That's approximately 800 words, unique and rebellion-focused, showing how whispers spread among the weak and oppressed, written in simple English and with commas instead of full stops.